Sculpting. After experimenting and testing, I found that poly modeling was too boxy and not organic and aesthetically pleasing enough, which is why I chose to use sculpting. This process involved an extreme degree of difficulty, which is why I implemented this step first in the production timeline. Rigging of the production's characters and moving objects was implemented using the joint tool or armature tool in Blender. It was vital that when creating an armature for a character or model that I was creating it through an axis or side view and not in a free perspective camera. This would ensure that all joints in the armature were all straight and in line and wouldn't cause any distortion in the model's mesh when animated. Poly modeling involved an extreme degree of difficulty, which is why it was implemented in the first few stages of the production timeline. Poly modeling was chosen instead of sculpting in the creation of the buildings, cars, and other objects as was more efficient within the production timeline and suited the design concept and style of the film. When modeling the buildings and other set objects, I utilized the character models as a form of measurement, adjusting the building sizes to suit the scale of the characters in a scene. The process of texturing affected the aesthetics of the major work. Within Blender, the textures were created using tools such as the Text, Mix RGB, Voronoi Texture, Transparent BSDF, Mix Shader, Bump Map, and more. I created the textures of wood, dry dirt ground, mirror, water, and glass using these tools. The mirror, water, and the glass textures involved a lot of time and involved a high degree of difficulty as the textures not only needed these tools but also were affected by the lighting and the positioning of the plane or object in which the texture was applied to. In the major work I have used spotlights, area lights, point lights, the Blender Sunlight tool, and the light emissions tool, which was applied to a sphere object in the texturing stages to make the object emit light. There are point lights throughout each scene using the 3-key lighting technique, which adds detail to the characters but also the set around them. In the modern day bedroom, I have used area lights which I keyframed to change color throughout the production using bright and hot colors. This symbolizes LED lighting, which reflects the time period of 2020 and the technology. The walk animation involved a high degree of difficulty, incorporating a lot of hours within the production timeline. Most characters had to be reanimated throughout the production to suit certain interactions with the set. The walk animation of the characters involved keyframing every joint within the armature to move all features of the body. I decided that it would be beneficial to use multiple cameras, different angles, and distances from the characters to demonstrate the 3D binaural sound aspect of the major work. When recording the sound effects, it was important that the recording environment was quiet to ensure clean sound could be achieved. For all sound effects, it was important to record at least 4 to 5 different takes per sound effect, in case one or more of the takes had any issues or didn't suit the visual in post-production editing. This improves the production efficiency. Making sure that the microphone had a windsock when outside was imperative to ensure that clean sound was achieved. When recording, I always had the major work playing on a laptop nearby so that I could implement the sound effect to suit the visual. The post-production of editing the sound effects incorporated a high degree of difficulty. In Adobe Audition, the sound effects were imported into the Audition mix. It was important to start with the big and most used sounds, such as the ambient environment, footsteps, and then add in the minor sound effects like the character breathing and clothing sounds. This process took a lot of time as the camera changed, the volume and panning needed to be timed perfectly to eliminate any disorientation for the audience and create the binaural 3D sound effect. In Adobe Premiere, all the rendered camera shots were imported and cut together. I then added the sound effects to match the visual. After completing a first draft of the major work, a survey was created and sent out to other students in all different year groups along with the film. The data collected from this survey allowed me to evaluate the project and improve it to appeal to my target audience. The render process involved rendering out each camera from each scene using Blender's render engine called Eevee. The process of render farming involves multiple computers on the same network all rendering out a frame each, working together to render out a camera. This makes the process more efficient. For my project, I used a total of 70 computers using the process of render farming to render out around 50 different cameras within the major work.